Hello, it's 8:04. Welcome to this week's episode of Pit Against the Live Football Call-In Show. I'm William Kitt. I'm William Table and Legs joined by my constant co-host Kevin Smurph Murphy. Kevin, what's up?
What's up?
Congratulations! Pit Against is a live call-in show. If you'd like to be live on air talking to us about your hot take, join the Pit Against Discord by clicking on the link that's in the description. Join the waiting room channel. Put your hot take in the topics text channel. If we like your take, and put you on for a mic check and pull you on air, and we can talk about what happened this weekend.
Memphis? World Tour Memphis?
Yeah, but like what happened this weekend?
Michael Hamilton won another calling.
No. What happened this weekend?
You 3-0'd a Draft Armory?
That happened. That's what we're going to talk about today. I was in a 6-person pod. Half of them Arachne. One of those Arachne were me, and I went 3-0 with just the silliest deck. Actually, it was great. The deck was awesome. It wasn't even silly. It was exactly how Yuki would draft it up. So okay. But what else happened to this weekend?
I top 8'd a Battle Hardened for the first time and ended up winning it.
Yes! I thought you were going to get me again with the, I top 8'd a Battle Hardened. So close, yet actually got there. Yeah, okay. We have a Battle Hardened champion on this stream, which is something I expected to say in the future. And I expect to upgrade that in the future as well.
Are you certainly
muted?
Wouldn't mind.
Am I muted?
No.
Jordan's muted. Jordan's muted? Am I muted or are you? You're muted. Can you hear the stream? Triple check before we go on this whole thing, and I have us muted.
I hear both of us.
Okay. Jordan, you're muted.
I think it's Jordan.
Jordan's muted. Jordan's here to give me a heart attack right now. Okay, yeah. So yeah, you won a Battle Hardened. Next is Calling, then the Pro Tour, and then Worlds, right?
I mean, I could just skip to Pro Tour. That's my next.
You should skip
I don't
to
have
Worlds.
a calling between now and then. Well, I have a Pro Tour before the next one.
Oh, true. Yeah. You got to get that. Well, at that point, like, you just skip the calling. Yeah, you just skip the calling altogether.
Yeah.
You go to Pro Tour.
I don't have a calling between
and then you don't have to go into any callings. You just go straight to Worlds.
Yeah.
Because that's not necessarily your MO right now, right? Like, your current MO is you win the big event, which currently the big event was Battle Hardened. And then the big event will be Pro Tour and then Worlds. And you don't have to do the thing that Michael Hamilton does where he just wins everything he goes to.
I mean, I don't. It'd be cool.
It'd also be cool. Okay.
But.
So you went on one of the most broken, busted, top tier 1 meta decks right now. You brought Viserai.
I did bring Viserai for that weekend.
Yeah.
That is the deck I had prepped.
Mm-hmm.
And that I played in the calling on Friday.
Yeah.
And went 4-3 and didn't make day 2.
Oh. Wait, then what'd you play at the Battle Hardened?
Prism.
Prism!
My girl.
Of course.
Yeah.
The counter meta. No one saw it coming.
I looking around Friday, she looked a lot better overall than I thought. Because none of the ninjas are bringing armor.
Mm-hmm.
And then Syndra and them don't bring poppers, really. And if you have 3 or less poppers, it's kind of free to play around.
Yeah, you just ignore it at that
as
point.
long as you don't ignore it, but you get like one free one with Halo for Triumph.
You actually didn't ignore it on stream because you
just play through it.
There was one point where was it the finals? Was it semis?
It was the last turn of semis against Iraq.
Last turn of semis, you attack with a Herald, they block out with not a popper, and then you're about to hit them, and you're like, no.
A Halo for Triumph anyways.
You Halo for Triumph anyways, and then you hit him, and he had the CNC in hand, and someone in chat was like, oh my gosh. Someone in chat, I think Bird quoted it, where he was like, someone in chat was like, I never would have saw that line. This is the biggest brain Prism line I've ever heard. I never would have played around it. It was so good. All right, so enough about Prism specifically in the meta. We can get to that later. How was your weekend in Memphis, like the whole weekend?
It was good. I
Yeah.
mean, like those events are always fantastic. Like traveling to those events is is like what keeps me playing the game. Um, like those are like the best weekends of playing the game because you get to see everybody, not just your locals that you see every week. You get to see everyone that you've seen at all these other events and talk to all these people that you would only see online otherwise.
Yeah.
So like I love these events, and it's just like it's 4 days of playing the game, and then when you do something good, it's even better. So like I played Viscerai at the Calling, and it was fine. And I decided I wanted to play Prism in side events the next day.
And you were
And it was
feeling it.
great. I was I was feeling it a little bit until like the last two games of the day, and I was like, there are some changes I need to make because I messed with the list a little bit Saturday morning,
Mhm.
to try and fit some stuff in that people said was good,
Yeah.
and then none of my sideboards worked anymore. Um, and so I went back and changed them again Sunday morning, going into the Battle Hardened, and I was
Mhm.
much happier with the sideboards, and they worked pretty well. And I hit like the most insane matchup spread that I could ask for on the deck. Uh, like I literally don't think I could ask for a better matchup spread for Prism
Yeah.
in
Uh
this meta. So
yeah, that was I saw that. That was pretty good. Dog Dog Boy Rock says Virginia represent. I think we need to start like I don't know if this is a thing. I like to imagine this is a thing in Europe where it's like they have a Spain event and a German player wins it, and then there's like a little bit of bragging rights and a German player came over and won the Spain event or something like that. You know, we had a Virginian go to Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee,
yes,
and
Jesus
snipe the
Christ.
Tennessee event away from the
Oh,
Tennesseans. I don't know, not a big deal.
nope.
I am showing my knowledge of geography. So
Such an American.
it's such an American.
You don't
I
even know
only
where other states are.
no, I only know one language. So what was I gonna get at? I guess we can talk about. I wanted to say if anyone's in chat right now wants to call in and talk specifically to a battle hardened champion, uh, not
If you have
if you have
spicy hot
if
take
you have a good
about
take on
Flesh and
them
Blood,
on Flesh and Blood, the meta, battle hardens in general, recent stuff that's gone on. If you have something you want to talk about, then we'll talk about it. Give us something to work with. But I guess what I wanted to work with is talk a little bit about Prism
sure,
because kind of an oddball pick. Not if you know Kevin, but an oddball pick at least for the meta, right? So why
a little
Prism?
bit.
Why Prism for you, not necessarily for this meta? Why Prism for you?
I mean, it's the deck that I've played the most
Mm-hmm.
in the last year, almost at this point. Um, I know the deck very well. I'm very comfortable on it. It's my favorite deck to play right now. Um, so it's the deck that I thought I would do the best with, and I thought I would do better with it than Viscerai, um, and I would also enjoy it more. So that's that.
Yeah.
I think the meta is definitely better for it than I thought. Not having Enigma there to worry about as a super kind of as a really technical matchup is
Mm-hmm.
nice. Viscerai is still a very things have to go right for you to beat Viscerai, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's at best like a 30-70, if I had to guess, especially since I'm not on Warmongers, but
Mm-hmm.
Warmongers I found to be pretty unreliable, um,
So have
at least for my taste. So I
yeah.
brought a version of Prism that was, I have as much agency as possible into things that were not Viscerai and not Brute.
So the
And
problem
that was
with
that.
Viscerai is rune chance. Is that mostly it? Because if you hit him with a
It's,
herald, that's still like hitting him with a herald. No, he has poppers.
he has some number of poppers, some of which are sixes, some of which are nines,
Mm-hmm.
which you can't interact with nine poppers.
Mm-hmm.
He also has a fridge. He can run Carapace into you, and I think he probably should be.
Yeah.
Um, Face Purgatory is a pain in the ass because it doesn't just block one Herald, it blocks two because it prevents you from playing your second one.
Oh,
Um,
that's good.
and then it's very difficult. It is harder against Viscerai to guarantee angel value than it is against Flick Knives.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of things that kind of line up weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, some Viscerai builds are on like 6+ D reacts. which
Oh.
then also makes things difficult.
Oh.
Where like you can Halo for Triumph, and then they have the D react, and can still cover whatever Herald you try and
Gross.
push over.
Yeah.
So that matchup is very difficult. Um,
What about popping
um,
15 beers? All right. Who's that? Do I know who that is?
I don't think I recognize
All
the
right.
name. Um,
Let's go.
I'm more of a whiskey guy, as some of the as some people might have seen from that weekend as well. Um,
Frick.
I didn't
Okay.
go crazy. We just had
Yeah.
one night. I think it was Saturday night. We went to a place called Westies, which was just like a block and a half from the convention center, and we got there a little late, and they were overrushed, and I ended up getting like two singles of Woodford Reserve. But at the end of the night, the guy rings up all the checks, except he does every item one at a time. And he will like pull up a check, call out one item, and someone will raise their hand and he hands them the check. And picks up another check and calls out the second item that they ordered, and they claim it, and he balls it up and puts it in his pocket. And then he would call out the next one. So he gets to me, and it's like, this thing, and I'm like, yeah, that's me, and hands it to me, and he's like, Woodford Reserve, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. Balls it up, tucks it away. Woodford Reserve, balls it up, tucks it away.
What the frick?
Second piece of food I ordered, balls it up, tucks it away.
What the
So
frick?
I got two Woodfords for the price of 1/3 of my food.
What?
So I just got free whiskey that night.
What is... Okay. God dang.
So
Sign my shirt, Murphy. You're the Prism King.
oh boy.
$5. I'm his PR rep.
Nope.
The Jordan brings up the next thing I wanted to talk about, which wasn't whiskey, because I don't know anything. Whiskey's a beer, right? So poppers are at an all-time low, and Kano is on the rise as well. Assassin Ninja feel good with flexors. Viz can be rough. Yeah. Okay, but the point I wanted to bring out is like Kano's on the rise.
Kano had a
Poppers
good
are at an all-time
showing.
low, and
Poppers are at an all-time low.
So does Prism kind of sit in the meta the same way Kano does, where it's like when you least respect it, it comes out to get you?
A little bit, but it's harder to tech for. Because like you can run Spell Void in your redline decks, and that helps against Kano.
Yeah.
Because that's like also something that people are relying on, is like people are running a lot of Syndra, and therefore you can play Kano into that deck pretty well, depending on how much Spell Void they run. But like Prism, it's like hard to fit poppers into your deck necessarily if you just like can never resolve them.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard for Syndra to run poppers and like have them not be bricks some portion of the time. So like this meta was lower on poppers than previous metas, because like Zen can easily run poppers in his deck and not have issues with it. Viserai can easily run poppers in his deck. He runs poppers main board.
Yeah.
Ira was running poppers main board before she switched to a dual threat pattern, and even then she can still be on like 9 poppers and it'll be totally fine. You can still run dual threat and CNC because of Vest and Flick Knives. So it's but the meta shifted a lot with Syndra kind of showing up more, and then the assassin matchups are good for us overall. So like Prism ends up being a little bit of like, if you don't have the stuff, then she's gonna do well because her numbers are just insane if you can't interact with Phantasm in a way that she can't get around. So like,
I was just wondering to myself what a popper would look like in Syndra, and what came to my brain was freewheeling renegades.
probably.
Is that is that something they would actually think of, or am I just cooking?
Or
right
down
now?
and dirty.
Down and dirty. Yeah. Wait, you resolve it?
Nope. You arsenal it.
You arsenal it. Just leave it there. I guess so. That's very specific.
You just like, yeah, you just like that. That is Prism hate.
Yeah, that's hate.
Yes. So, like, it's possible that they can run poppers, but it's difficult. I think that game is going to be fast enough that I can play around it, and I'm happy to Halo for Triumph. For some part of that, so Yeah.
Whew. Okay, so everyone in chat and also me are going out to eat next time Kevin goes out to eat because holy frick, I don't know how you found the guy. Someone said he's about to quit, and that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
That sounds about right.
That sounds about right. How do you deal with flick knives?
So flick knives is just kind of like, one, you have to accept that some portion of your angels are going to get one value, and
Yeah.
that is okay.
Yeah.
Your offensive numbers are good enough that that is fine.
Yeah.
You can typically work around flick knives well enough that you have some number of spectral shields around your angels. Whether that's from Herald of Protection or from Aegis, Archangel of Protection. So, like, if you can have a Herald of Protection on the turn you get Shariah out for your draw 2,
Ooh.
then that's obviously very good. You're never going to keep Shariah alive. It's not possible.
Yeah.
Don't try. You just want to cash in that ward value for 4. So really, it's any angel that is not Aegis you want to have a Herald of Protection paired with, if you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. Cash your angel in for 1. It's fine. You can grab Aegis on a turn where you don't have a Herald of Protection to get that, to mimic that benefit. As here's an angel that's going to get me at least 3 value, because they're realistically going to not try to give you 4 value on it. They're going to send a head jab first instead of a rabble.
I mean, that's still huge value you get. This is like, oh no, they popped my angel when you threw a 2-card 8 basically, and then also fetched a little bit of ward. Like, it's huge value.
Yeah, 2-card 8 with go again is still good, and when I get to make it bigger, that's fine. Yeah. Like, it's still, the math comes down to, if we can go 2-cost Herald plus War Tune plus yellow and blue, we're going to swing for, on average, 16, and we're going to get 2 Figments out and flip an angel. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's before any of the heralds are red. That's before any of the heralds are protection.
Oh, yeah, that's just
and that's
the yellows.
before and that's before any of the. That's before Aegis is the angel. It's also before Shariah is the angel.
You don't run Ravages, is that right?
I did not.
Okay.
You can. I think it's a little bit of preference between Ravages and Tenacity at the moment. I think Tenacity is better right now because decks are heavily incentivized to not block with their equipment at the moment. Flick Knives is a piece of equipment you don't want to block with early. Blood Splattered Vest is a piece of equipment you don't want to block with early. Mask of Deceit is a piece of equipment you don't want to block with early. Viendel Spring Tunic is a piece of equipment you do not want to block with early.
Yeah.
These things all benefit Prism because it's not real blocking equipment to us.
Not until it's too late.
Yes.
Like, sometimes it can be like the saving grace, like let's say it's a super close game and you just happen to get a little extra block, but like it's not helping you on a turn-to-turn basis like Victor's equipment or something.
Yes.
So you mentioned, I want to talk about this. You mentioned you changed at any point in testing the new card?
So Warcry of Themis.
What does that do?
It's the expansion slot from Hunted. It is a light illusionist action card. Yellow, 2-pitch, 0 cost, 3 block. It is your next angel attack this turn gets +4. Go again.
Angel attack?
Instant. Discard this. Banish X cards from your soul. Flip X cards in a banish zone face down. So, it is Figment of Judgment effect on a wind-up for as many cards as you want from soul. It is a 0 for 4, go again, light yellow, block 3.
Is it a win more card that you need to use it on angels, or?
A little bit, in my opinion. It's a way that you can, if you have full tempo and you know it's your Shariah turn, you can play this on your Shariah swing, then draw 2 and play the Herald that you draw, and then Arsenal the Ponder, and you don't IP yourself.
Wow. Frick.
So, that's the best case use for this scenario. What Jordan is referring to on OG Shariah, you're going to like this interaction. Yes.
That's dope. We need more life gain, right? We need more life gain in Flesh of
Prism.
Blood.
So, if you have Halo up, and you have Warcry, and you have Invoked Shariah, it is a 5-card 30.
In Magical Christmas Land?
No, just you have Warcry and Shreya in hand, and you can Halo for Aegis.
You can't Halo for Shariah, right? That's not a
Not
figment.
for Invoke.
Okay.
It is not a figment. You have to have both Invoke, which is
Yeah.
a legendary keyworded card, so there's only
Oh.
one in your deck, and you need to have either it or Warcry in your arsenal. Yes. It is a little magical Christmas
It's
landy.
a little magical Christmas landy.
It's not as bad as some other stuff, but it being legendary keyworded is the thing that really hurts it.
You also are playing a lot of one-ofs in the deck already, and it just feels maybe weird, like Light of Soul, and I don't know.
Sure. I mean, one-ofs are, like, the deck is just going to work like that.
Yeah, but weird.
It like that is something that people have looked at. I don't think that by itself is reliable enough to make it a thing. But that interaction with OG Shariah is very interesting, and it's something that people have looked at a lot. If Shadow becomes a big thing, and Banish Zone becomes an even bigger thing, then that's a card that would look very interesting.
Flips the whole back end of the table as the Banish Zone goes upside down.
Yep. So you can basically get them to discard 3 cards. You need 1 soul for every time you do it, and currently Prism is not built for that.
No.
So I think in Monarch 3 we would need a little bit of extra soul generation for that to be a thing. Monarch reliably. 3. Yeah.
Oh,
that's probably next year, like January.
Yeah, probably. I believe that.
But I'm going to be putting that card in my deck at some point soon and really testing it, along with putting Shrai in the deck. Especially since I think I'm going to move to Calming Gesture as like one of my main arm slots, because it's like Stonewall just doesn't do enough. No, I'm not playing Soul Food.
Not Soul Food.
I don't like that card.
Okay, not Soul Food. Okay, I was going to say, so you were talking about your sideboard a little bit, and you talked about how you changed your sideboard basically not during the tournament, but like
morning of.
While you were there in Memphis.
Yeah.
What? And you also mentioned on Bluesky that you the deck that you put on there, because you gave everyone access to your deck list, you were like, this isn't fully optimized. So I want to hear about the sideboard a little bit.
So on Saturday, I was running a slightly different list, and so parables were not in, and quick dodge flexors were in. So I was running a slightly different equipment suite, but then also the parables were out, so my sideboards were all kind of funky, and I didn't like the numbers into any matchup. But that was because I literally did it the morning of there. And I went back to a version that I was more comfortable with, and the sideboards were cleaner, I felt like.
I like a clean sideboard.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the results for public list that I posted.
Did people start playing it, I guess?
Yeah, there's 65 games played on it, and it has a 54% win rate.
Oh. I see a giant green bar on the screen, yeah.
Yeah, that's today.
Whoa! How many games is that today?
35.
Wow. Yeah. None of them me, surprisingly. Sometimes I see these lists and I jump on it.
They are 9-1 into Arachne Marionette.
Easy matchup. Arachne Marionette is not a real deck. Matchup. Anyways,
I think it's a real deck, but no. So this was much more a build that I was comfortable with, rather than a build that was trying to push stuff.
Yeah.
I had not prepped this deck whatsoever for Memphis. I was prepping Viscerai going into it, and I hadn't played Prism at Armories in a while. I had played Viscerai for the last month. So there'd be a couple things that I change, but it shouldn't move too much. Obviously, if Brute is going to come back more because people are afraid of Prism, then
that's a stretch. It's like saying people getting afraid of Kano. It happens, but not on a scale large enough to matter most of the time.
I think the majority of people if people are going to reactionary bring Prism to their RTNs because of what I did, I don't know that you need to overreact.
30% higher win rate. than most tournament lists when they've been released to everyone. So here's the thing I think about Prism is she's kind of I'm cheating. Can you handle me cheating? In some respects, right? Like it gets more deep than that, but on a very surface level, which is what Talishar is representing, it's I'm cheating a little bit. How can you handle this? And if your opponent can't handle it, it's actually a really good Talishar deck. So
if your opponent can't handle,
yeah,
they have to dodge local vis as well. Yeah, and honestly, like if people are just going to bring Viscerai to deal with Prism, 100%. That'll also deal with Prism. Like you don't need to bring Brute.
It's a nightmare player. Scary.
Yeah. I do think the way that Prism kind of works is the first ask is on the opponent to know what Prism is, how Prism functions. Because if the opponent doesn't know how Prism functions, then like it's not.
There's a bit of a knowledge check there, yeah.
If they know how Prism functions and can like interact with it meaningfully, then it's like, is this an experienced Prism who knows how to like get around the basics? And then it still looks like a degenerate deck.
Yeah.
Where it still feels like the Prism is cheating because it's just like the numbers are crazy. They're just nuts.
Yeah.
And then as soon as like both people know what's going on, it looks like the games I had against Brian. The semis game was a little skewed where his draw was pretty lackluster.
Yeah.
But my game against him in Swiss was ludicrously tight, and it probably. I mean, the game ended when I was at 3 and he was at 1, and I lost. Was the turn that I lost.
Yeah.
Those were the life totals going into it. This was after I was at 7 and he was at 34.
Holy frick.
But that's because for the first like 4 or 5 turns, he kept me off Soul and Figments completely because he was a Prism player. He knows how the deck works. And so then we start doing this back and forth. But at that point, I'm starting my turn at 7 and he's at 34, but I have a full grip. And he's out of armor and ways to stop me from doing my thing, and I finally get to
a turn,
do a thing, and then I get a foothold in the game, and we actually go back and forth, and it still ends up a 3-1 game because that's how powerful the deck is.
Yeah,
but like it looked nothing like some of my other games, and it's because he knows how Prism works, and my draw was a little rougher than some of the other games I had. That was probably that might have been my worst draw all day. I think that was my worst draw all day.
Any other crazy sideboard tech?
I think the only thing I would change is look at flexors going in. I think that is going to go in for the Syndra matchup.
Does it feel weird in a deck that runs mostly yellows?
No, you use it to ditch the random blue aura that you can't use on a single Herald hand.
Okay. That makes sense.
You use it for like... You have a Herald in Arsenal, and it's going to be your Shariah turn, so you're going to draw 2 anyways, and you just want to turn that and your boots into 6 block.
Yeah,
and that's just better than the blue is going to get you, because you never want to end on those blue auras when it's not turn 0 or 1.
It's kind of 3 of a kind at that point.
Yeah, it's Husk.
You're going to draw cards. Husk. Feels good.
It's like pseudo Husk. It's not actually Husk, but it's pseudo Husk. You have so many non-blocks already. Like, yeah. I mean, like, if I have Flexors, and this is 100% confirmation bias, Flexors buys me 8 health in my finals game.
Wow.
Because I had 2 Figments in my hand.
Yeah.
That were spare at one point. And I can just pitch both of them away and block 4 chain links for 2.
I want you to know,
pitching them to Rapture and doing nothing.
At that point, when you were pitching them the Rapture, I wasn't on the couch anymore. I was standing about 3 feet from the television, and Rachel says, "Can you scoot back a little bit? Because I am just sweating, staring at the TV." I was like, "Oh,
bro!" I was looking at that hand, and I was like, "This is how I lose."
Oh,
this hand is how I lose the game, and I had to have like a couple draws go very right for me to win that game. Like especially my Shariah turn, hitting exactly on the top with the erudition was actually insane. That was worth a full card plus the extra damage, and I get to Arsenal the erudition for another turn, so I can block and send erudition and still send a double Herald hand.
I remember that because I pointed at the screen and I go, "He's got a War Tune," and Rachel goes, "A Herald?" and it's like it pitches for it costs one. I don't know. It was the whole top 8 was hype for me.
Like it was like my draw.
Mm-hmm.
I had to hit some crazy draws to get out of it, and that made up for how insanely bad my start was.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
This is another opportunity for, say, if you want to be on air talking to Kevin about his battle hardened experience, well, too bad. But if you want to talk to him about a hot take that you have about Flesh and Blood, we'd love to have you on to talk about it. I think I'm going to ask this question now. You're a battle hardened champion. You won a battle hardened, right?
Yeah.
We've had, how many battle hardens we've had? Like 200 in Flesh and Blood's history?
Probably closer to 100 or 120 or something. But
that's pretty exclusive. Especially for there's more than 100 players.
Probably.
Brody's got half of them.
Well, then it's not more than 100.
Yeah, then I guess it's not.
But sure, it's
yeah.
not. It is not easy.
It's not easy, and so that leads to the question: how do I win a battle harden?
More luck than I would like to admit.
Everyone says that. That's not actionable information.
I understand.
Yes,
and there isn't good actionable. I'll put it this way: your best odds of winning a battle harden is play a lot of them.
Brody does that.
Yes,
Michael
he
Fung does that.
They both do that. No, like you so much has to go right for you to win for you to top 8 a battle harden, let alone win one. I went 9-1 that day.
It's really good.
That's really good when I'm playing Cody Williams, Dagan White, Brian Lorenz, Jacob Baugh, Brian Lorenz again. Like Victor Mercado, finalist from Calling Portland 2 months ago. That was my round 3 opponent.
There was stuff on
go
ahead.
Victor Mercado was my round 3 into round 4. Cody Williams into round 5. Dagan White into round 6. Brian Lorenz.
Killers, every single one.
That's the bracket that I had to run to get to 5-1.
Cool.
And then I still have to win my winning in round 7, which I was fortunate enough to hit an Aurora who had never played against a Prism and had to ask what Footsteps does.
It happens. Sometimes
you're
playing a good aggro deck.
I'm going to be honest. I'll take it. And I played slow and explained what everything did, but I'm not going to explain the implications of you should block here, you shouldn't block here.
Yes.
This is the way, like,
I'm
not going to say this is how you beat me.
You're not going to teach them the game, but you're going to show them what's happening.
This is Herald of Protection. It is 7 on hit, go to Soul, and make a Spectral Shield. It has Go again. It has Phantasm. If it goes to Soul, I'll get to tutor a Figment, and I get to flip an Angel for free.
Oh, you told
I'm not going to give him... Yeah, that's Rapture
good.
and Prism.
No, that's good. That's good.
But, like, I'm not going to be, like, always block the first Herald. But it's like, if you go ahead and do the math on Angel attacks... Because he also had to ask where... I didn't explain what the weapon did, I guess. Because he did ask at one point. He was like, where's the Angel getting Go again from? And I'm like, weapon.
Weapon. Here you go.
Yeah. So, like...
Allow me to give you a little sip right here.
Yeah. It felt kind of bad at one point, but it's like, bro, you're 5-1 in a battle harden.
I don't know. I think if you don't know the hero,
how these cards work,
the first thing
that
you
have been
should
out
be
for
doing,
a year,
read every single card on your opponent's side of the field if you don't already have them memorized.
He has to read everything except the weapons. So.
Oh, well, that's why you lose. Just kidding.
Jesus Christ, George.
Okay.
But no, like I was playing very well that day. It was 100% my day. A lot of draws were going my way. Even the ones that like you didn't see or like that you saw that like weren't going my way. Like I had so many more actually break my way where it's like I hit the absolute nuts against Cody Williams. 100% I did. Where it's like I have Red Tenacity on turn 0 against Zen.
Yeah. That's great.
That's a 1 of it. That's a 1 of in my deck.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I just started with a Soul and a Figment, and then And like the turn that like I really just kind of like blew him out is I send like a yellow triumph or something, and I'm holding two cards, and it's a Wrath and a Herald of Erudition, and he blocks exactly 6 on my 6 with all of the remainder of his equipment, and he's like, just one time, don't have the Wrath, and I'm like, I have the Wrath,
Got it.
and then I go fetch Erudition, and fetch Shariah, I pitch Herald of Erudition, draw 2, and it's exactly a yellow and Herald of Judgment for when
Yep.
he has just tutored an inner chi into his hand with Traverse.
Yep.
So he can't play from Banish if he doesn't block it. So I just take 2 Tiger Swipes out of his hand. I just take 8 value out of his hand.
Oh, it's so good.
And he's like, the draw was insane. It was absolutely insane.
Matthew Bordeaux kind of said it, and the way that I like to say it, which is the winner is the best player on the best deck with the best luck. It kind of happened. Yeah.
I was the player to have my deck in my bracket, like in my gem
You say it's
profile,
so less glamourly.
I mean, that's like that is it. Is like it was my day, and I was prepared for it to be my day.
Yeah. That's that's part of it. That other quote where it's like,
you have to be the player to run that bracket.
Yep.
And I was a good enough player to run that bracket, which was not
preparation meets luck meets. Wait, is it? Preparation meets,
luck.
I don't know.
Luck is
luck
there's
is,
something about it.
Quote is quote.
Luck is preparation meeting opportunity.
There you go. You got the opportunity.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, 100% earned. 100%. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matthew.
Like I did not take Prism with the intent of I'm targeting this meta. I took Prism in this meta is fine enough for Prism that I feel like I can do well, or that I personally would do better with it than I would on Viscerai.
Do you do any specific tournament prep other than drinking whiskey?
Not really, I guess.
I hate that for
I mean, like I need to go into a tournament feeling like I am comfortable on the deck and that I know the deck, and like I felt pretty comfortable on Viscerai, and like I knew it well. I didn't have a ton of experience into some matchups that I probably should have, like the mirror. But I went into that event feeling like I was prepared to play against ninjas and assassins as Prism, and I play against a bunch of ninja and assassins. Yeah. And I definitely did, between rounds, get some advice from other Prism players on how to play certain matchups, like especially the Marionette matchup that I had not played. I went to Barrett, aka Vishra, on the Marionette matchup, and he just very quickly ran it down for me. It's a standard aggro matchup. Don't blink. Just make them have it. Their numbers are worse than yours. Play around it like they're ninjas. Spectral shields to keep stuff alive. Mark is super important. If you can keep them off mark, then that's as much as keeping you off soul.
Yeah,
and that 100% showed in my game against Brian in the semis, where I kept him off mark a lot.
Yeah, I think I heard someone told me, it's a million times easier to keep him off mark than it is to keep him off the effects of being marked.
Yes.
And so
definitely.
And that's like surface level stuff, but still I was watching the game and I was like, oh my gosh, it's just a part lining up for you, and not for him, but also just like keeping him off of the mark was so big.
Yeah. And that was like something that like definitely showed through in that semis game like a lot. And it was the difference between the semis game and the Swiss game was like him keeping me off soul and me keeping him off mark is like the mini game we're playing back and forth. But like both of those games interact with each other because it's about how many cards each of us can keep to try and get mark to happen, or to try and get soul.
Yeah.
Like those mini games are fighting each other.
I love that.
But
actually.
That matchup very quickly for me became about tempo, because it was very much a win more matchup in my opinion, because if you are able to mark them, you're more likely to be able to keep them marked and keep doing their thing.
That makes sense.
And if I'm able to get soul, I'm more likely to keep them off mark and therefore keep getting soul. and Figments. So it's an aggro matchup, but it snowballs in a way like an aura matchup, if that kind of makes
Yeah.
sense.
No,
It's
no, it
not one to
does.
one, but like, yeah, it is it is definitely the most interesting aggro matchup in the game right now. But like, I was definitely getting notes between games on how to do stuff, and like, dude, before top eight, once I knew I was locked, Barrett was like, "Hey, do you want to play a game against Wyatt Syndra?" Because he has Redline Syndra, and we knew that Jacob Baugh was in top eight on Syndra on the opposite side of the bracket. And I was like, "No, I don't want to play a game that I may not even need to worry about." One, two, I don't want to worry. I'm not going to go try and play a game. I want to chill for a second.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Do you want to watch me play against him and just like get quick thoughts, and you don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
worry about the details?" And I was like, "Sure." So I
That's
sat there and I
great,
watched them
actually.
I sat there and watched them play a full game of Prism v Syndra.
And this is why all tournaments are tailored to pro players, and nobody can get in to win a battle hardened unless they have an extensive. No, no, no. It takes sometimes, without discrediting you and without falling into that trap. Like, it
I definitely
can,
benefited from
yeah,
knowing people.
yeah. It sometimes it takes a village, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
um, the having a testing team does not win you tournament. However, it can allow you to glean certain information that it would be much harder or take much longer for you to get otherwise. And it's great to talk to people, socialize. It's single player when you sit down, but it doesn't
Yep.
have to be outside of the
The
game.
process is not.
Yeah, and even if you don't have a big team, this is me specifically addressing problem people out there. Even if you don't have a team, you can have people you can talk to. You
Yes.
can ask questions to your favorite people on Bluesky. They're probably gonna give you half an answer. So like,
At least.
yeah. So there's some good stuff out there. And it's not all teams win. However, it does seem like you were able to get some help, and that's great. Actually, I think that's great.
Hmm.
Um, how did it feel playing in an event week one? Because we talked about this before.
If this is referencing the fact that U.S. Nationals is also the release weekend of the next set,
I didn't
I'm gonna
say
put
it.
it.
I was
I'm
thinking
gonna
it.
put it bluntly. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's fucking stupid.
Oh no, our sponsor. Yeah, go
It's
ahead.
just a bad idea. It's just a bad idea.
It's rough.
Like, it's just not. Why? Who 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 benefits? Who of the, if your game is about people sitting down in the flesh and blood and playing the game, then who benefits?
I have two answers to this.
Yeah,
One easy answer and one hard answer. The easy answer is that the vendors who are there for that event
sure,
make like a couple extra bucks. The second
sure.
answer is dependent. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to answer a question with a question like I love to do. Um,
Hmm.
what week is it appropriate to have an event after the set drops? Is week 2 fine? Do they need to wait till week 3?
So if they want to cut it close,
If they want to cut it as
uh,
close as they can without it being awful and everyone hates it.
so if you want to do it 1 week after actual release, fine. I won't like it, but it's acceptable. You're not
Okay.
relying. People aren't relying on their pre-release pools to get their freaking cards.
True.
Um, Last year, Nats,
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks after Mistveil release,
Okay.
excellent,
Excellent.
because not everyone showed up to US Nats with the same Zen list.
Ah. So, okay. So here's what I was
But
going to say. Okay. Go ahead.
nobody complained about card availability.
True. So let's. It's awkward. Um, let's cut it in the middle and say, you have a release weekend. Next weekend is nationals. In this
Hmm.
hypothetical that I'm coming up with, the difference between that week and the week it comes out for the viewer experience, I think, is negligible.
I agree.
The next week, I think it's starting to become noticeable, where it's like
Yes.
people
Well,
are.
it's also like
It's
even
not
for
as
like the
fresh
casual.
anymore.
Yeah, sure. But like even
From
for like the
an
casual.
entertainment perspective for viewers, if just
Sure.
to completely cover that,
Which yeah.
yeah, if the people who are going to win from it coming out as early as possible, I think from a viewer's perspective, having it on week 2 as opposed to week 3 is much bigger, and I think the difference between 2 and 1 is negligible.
I agree.
Okay, there we go. I saw it. Go
I
ahead.
do think there's also like there is benefit to having everyone in the store opening their boxes at the same time because half your players aren't at the event. You have all of your locals all hanging out and drafting. Oh, by the way, this is also a fucking draft event.
Wait, what?
It's Nats. It's split format.
Oh. Oh. Hmm. Oh, what is? Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about the implications of that. Um. Huh. Do we know the whole weekend?
For what?
Nationals. We don't
What do
know
you
the
mean?
whole weekend. Like what all the events, not necessarily side events, but like all the big events, like how the weekend's structured.
We can
Is there a Friday thing?
draft new set. I assume it's going to be new set draft. There's no reason for them to have us draft hunted at
No,
Nats.
I would hope not,
Um,
actually. That would be terrible.
I assume it's going to follow a similar structure to uh, every previous or the previous nationals, which is um, national starts on Friday and it's split format, 4 or 5 round CC, and then you draft, and then cut to day 2. Calling also starts the next day and it's CC and
Luck happens with prep. That's
Jesus
perfect.
Christ.
Holy frick.
So I have no
Matthew
reason.
Bordeaux in chat said he just opened a fortune cookie that explained the
Yep.
quote we were trying to get for like 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I assume it's going to be a similar structure to nationals of years before, unless they're going to go to a CC only format for US Nats, which I would be extremely surprised if they did.
Mm-hmm.
And I just I don't know why. I don't know why they're doing it.
This is the thought process that I was hoping I would find, like the not so good implication of it being a draft set, or a format with draft in it, week 1 release, which was what Charlie said. It'd be an acknowledgement that people are using outside tools for practice.
Yep.
That's terrible.
That's
I think.
no,
Personally,
that's something they've actively fought.
Yeah, that's actually terrible. Like, unless you're like hoping that every little Flesh and Blood player is a saint and not using those tools. Oh my god, like the players are going to want to be as in good a shape as possible at the Nationals event, and if part of it's draft and the set just released, they're not going to have their hands on enough stuff to draft. They're going to have to use stuff like online tools. They're going to have to create their own drafts. It's going to be messy.
Yes. It's
in a way that LSS have actively been against previously. That is such a good
have
point.
actively
Holy
taken
frick.
action against.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Good thing
Like,
it's in...
I understand there's like some level, like they're going to put an event release weekend. I think they could have organized this one better. I've probably said it before publicly. I don't know if we I didn't say last week what it would have been, but maybe like 2 weeks ago I said what the structure for Memphis should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But it was literally called DraftFab.
DraftFab
Was the fab drafting tool that people were using that LSS cease and desisted. It was literally called draftfab.com or net, one of those.
I used it a lot. I was a bad kid and I used it a lot.
No, it was a well-made tool, and it helped when you wouldn't get drafts at your locals because you were the only one who wanted to.
And that was me.
Yeah.
I was
So
one of
like
two people.
I have issues with the way they ran this event, but like they're gonna put a big event on release weekend because it's great for sets and showings and stuff like that. I've never had an issue with them running limited callings the events of release weekend. That's what they've done every weekend since like heavy hitters at least is they run a limited event on release weekend. And it's great. But they put a CC one on Friday, which kind of sucked.
Yeah.
People didn't like that much. Prices are a little fucky because of it still.
And
But they're also
also,
fucky because of a short print.
they're also just
But
set head with
this
draft
is
print stuff, anyways.
this is bad. This is putting it on the weekend of U.S. Nationals, which is like some people's primary pathway to Worlds.
True.
Some number of people are trying to qualify to Worlds through Nationals. And
as someone who doesn't read up on all this stuff or especially remember it, what's the pathway through Nats to Worlds? Like who?
For US, it's top 16.
16?
Yep.
That's a lot.
They bumped it to 16 because we have 600 people.
That's a lot of people.
It is. Like 16 at US Nats is probably about as hard as top 8 at UK or Canadian Nats.
Yeah.
On average.
It's a huge event, and it's really hard to get top 16. But 16 people, given they weren't going to use their PTIs, that's a lot of people that are going to get thrust into Worlds off of an event that's going to have a draft
where there was disparity
the weekend
in
of
advantage.
Oh my gosh.
Have you extra LL points over all of the nationals? It did at one point where it was the same as a calling, but I'm not sure. So Draft Fab, my understanding is it was taken down because people were actually running their armories through it rather than using sealed product. They would just draft on Draft Fab.
Oh.
So they were using it to run armories.
That
is my understanding.
That's a big one.
Which is a big no-no, and it's why tournaments on Talishar have also been very not hush hush, but like shied away from.
Yeah,
is because they don't want you to run events online. They want you to run events in the flesh and blood.
Yeah, which I agree with.
But yeah,
it's hard. It's hard to hit. It may be impossible to hit a middle ground of keep people playing in the flesh and blood, have a place for people to practice draft online.
Sure.
Which also practicing draft online kind of like is actively against their business model in a way.
Yes.
Which also sucks.
Sure. But like that also like that tool is the easiest way for some people to get draft practice who don't have the means to buy 5 cases of product to run 20 drafts in the week before Nats.
Or
which,
live.
By the way, it's going to be really freaking hard to buy product for draft practice before US Nats.
Actually impossible?
Basically.
Well, you know what they could do? Is they can make the draft format really bad, straightforward, and very obvious how to draft it.
So just reprint heavy hitters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did that thing where they did with Monarch where they're like, okay, now you guys do this old draft again.
Hey, all our signals are super face up. You have 8 cards in every pack to send signals with. Go for it.
Frig.
No,
I don't care if playing in the flesh and blood hurts long-term growth. It's a great thing.
I think it can be done well, and I think they're having a couple slip-ups because they want to do... There's no way they have us drafted.
Draft Monarch again. You know what? They should have us draft Uprising again.
No. They won't. No, so like the issue like with that is like every set is supposed to be a draftable set from here on because there's supposed to be no supplemental sets.
Yep.
So everything is supposed to be a draftable set.
They would like no more sets to be. They have specifically gone out of their way to never say they will never have another expansion set or supplemental set. However, yes, that is entirely the implication. They do not want to have a non-draftable set.
if that's what this ends up being, and it's we draft an old set again, like we draft outsiders or something, then like sure, that's that makes this much more manageable. But like it's
But that's
still
also that's
you're
a feel bad in its own way.
yes, it is. I don't want to go back and draft outsiders again. I want to draft a new set. But I also want to have 2 weeks to learn how to draft the new set.
Plus, we just
Because
had
what
a
that
Ninja
is,
Assassin set.
I mean, also, yes. Um, Guardian Pack is basically a supplemental set. It is. But it's also not, that product is not based around, they are not marketing Guardian Mastery Pack the same way they did Dust Till Dawn, which was our last supplemental set.
You'll also be able to crack shuffle play it, and, which matters to me, and 3 other people. But also, I think it's coming alongside something else, so I think it's not. I don't know anything, but I think it's not. It's not going to be. I don't know. It's not going to be like. I don't know how to describe it. It's not going to feel like a supplemental set. Like it functions
so.
like one, but I don't think it's going to feel like one. I don't know what it's going to feel like. I think it's going to feel like round the table is what it's going to feel like, but we'll see.
Probably similar to that, but with more cards.
Yeah,
with more playable cards.
Yeah,
but I don't know why they're doing this. It doesn't make sense. If there's some sort of scheduling conflict where like they had to do national season then, but they couldn't move the set release forward, it sucks. I don't know.
How'd it feel this weekend for you?
It felt like everyone was struggling to get cards that they wanted, and people actively didn't play decks because they couldn't get cards, or were playing decks on Sunday that they couldn't play on Friday. Like they literally couldn't play on Friday.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I just wanted to. That I'm glad you said literally every word you just said, because the crux of my statement was, did it feel like at the event how we expected it to feel like going into it? And that's sad to hear.
Shelters were $100 on site.
Oh, some stores made bank.
They sure did. But like, that's the way that was going to work. That's the way it was always going to work.
Cards play Syndra. Yeah, I know.
I could have sold so many cards there for like profit if I wanted to, but like,
probably should have.
I sold
stores
a bunch
are
of
making
cards
bank that weekend. You go ahead, do it yourself.
I sold a bunch of cards at like what are going to be normal prices.
Now I want to go to nationals just so I can play all the side events for draft, and then take all that straight to the booths.
Yeah, you could draft. You could do on-demand drafts all day. Turn the tickets into packs from the prize wall, and then sell at like 5 p.m. on Friday, and probably make $300 or $400 if you hit like 2 legendaries and 3 of whatever the key majestic is or something.
Plus you're drafting. That's even
Plus
more
you're drafting, so you're getting stuff that you want, and you don't need to bring anything. You probably don't even need to bring sleeves.
Bring at least the draft sleeves.
Dude, I had people next to me who were like, I refuse to sleeve this sealed pool up, but it means I can't play my shelter. So I'm not going to play it. I'm just dropping at the end of the event, and that. Yeah, okay. No, you actually have a better chance of getting a Worlds invite from Nats from selling cards there and buying a PTI than playing Nats.
That's so funny. And
that's fucking
not the right
wrong.
mindset. You should be winning the event so that you get them. That's the right mindset. Don't Mara the event. Don't Mara Worlds.
That's not the same thing.
Buy a PTI.
She just straight up bought a PTI.
Yeah,
she did not
I know
go to an event to scalp cards to pay for the PTI.
No, but I am saying that's still the wrong mindset. Don't buy PTIs. Earn PTIs.
I would, if I don't qualify for PTA pack, I'm going to buy a PTI. Only because I have earned a PTI before, would I be comfortable buying a PTI?
Okay. How many PTIs have you earned?
1. And it was this weekend.
Is this a new mental philosophy that has changed as of this weekend, or?
No, because like I wouldn't have. So one, I've qualified for 3 PTs already. So like
True.
I have done that. I have not earned a Worlds invite before.
Okay.
That is a distinction that I'm comfortable making. Where it's like I don't want to just buy a PTI just because I want to go play Worlds. Like I didn't buy one for Osaka because I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm there yet.
You are now.
So I think I can justify it to myself now. But
just make day 2 of Worlds. That's all I want.
My wallet unlocked before this weekend. I promise you. You can see my Prism deck on stream. Those
Shiny.
Herald EAs are not the Dusk Till Dawn ones.
Like
they're all Rainbow Foil promo EA Heralds.
Any glare on the table was not the fault of production. It was just how
not
shiny
sleeves.
the cards are.
You can see the cold foil arc lights on stream.
I need a better job before my wallet unlocks. Holy frick.
Yeah. No, that I sold a house.
That'll do it. Oh man.
Yep.
Holy frick.
Prism simp. I don't know if it's I don't know if I'm a simp for Prism, but like she is my favorite deck right now.
Yep.
I'm not
simp for the gameplay.
I'm not sitting there staring at her feet.
YGO odd deck.
Bro. No one with a locked wallet plays Prism seriously. Hey, that was me most of last year.
I kind of hate that.
I played a basic ass Prism deck for the better part of last year. I didn't upgrade it until
I'm so anti-foil.
December. What if everything is foil though? So it's not the mix and match thing that you care about.
No, it's never been that.
Okay.
I just don't like my cards pringling. And I also don't like the effort I have to put in to pringle them. And then also, I dropped out of community college art school, so I'm a bit of a snob in the sense that I'm like, actually, I feel like I could see the art better when there isn't foiling on it. I'm a little bit of that. I meant to do, you know what I forgot to do? I meant to take Slippy and just leave it on the front porch for a week, and I forgot to do that. I need to do that. The new Slippy card.
Oh, it's got the zero gauge.
It's the zero gauge foil. All right, we're just rambling. The last
I have Max Bling, Icelander, LL. Where is she?
This guy, I can't stand it.
Right here.
I'm literally going to my locals this weekend, and the plan is to hand them my Guardian deck and say, if there's any foils in there, I will swap 1 for 1 for non-foils.
I have alt art CLFs in here.
I like the original art more. I know everyone hates that I say that, but
I have pink foil Wounded Bulls, and I have pink foil Sink Belows.
Pink foil Wounded Bulls.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah. I have the promo Fyendel's Fighting Spirits in there.
Yeah.
Holy frick. Only got 2 unmovable promos.
Okay, speaking of...
Because I missed the third one.
A card with 2 or greater attack. A 2 or greater cost that can be reacted to. My eyes. Do you want to briefly talk about CNC and Pummel, or is it too late? Like, briefly. Our opinions, maybe? If not, then not.
It is legally within the rules. You are not within the rules responsible for your opponent's triggers. From my understanding, and if you want the story on this, go watch the Runaways podcast from today. Cody Williams and Noah Bagelman were there when it happened. They can tell you better than I can. From their recounting of it, it was pretty scummy. What Birdie did. If the rule that you are not responsible for your opponent's triggers is not there for you to take advantage of, it is there to protect you if you make a mistake. Not for you to try and scum your opponent out of it, or to try and ice your opponent out of it by taking 3 to 4 minutes to think after they have played a pummel and before you have taken damage. And so
Also,
while
yeah.
and to put a caveat on that, while what happened is I think scummy, and it is not necessarily the first time that this person has done it, if they never do it again, that will be fine.
Yeah.
That will be enough.
I think the only other caveat is after diving through the rules, if we pretended ourselves a judge and were there in the moment and it was how we understand it to be, there's a lot of asterisks after this.
Yes.
But we
there
think...
is responsibility on the judges for what happened, for the way that situation was handled. The responsibility is, of course, on his opponent for missing their own trigger. And then, so yes, there
responsibility
is
can be thrown around, but parts of it are still a little
feel
scummy.
real bad.
Yeah, feel real bad. I think that's it. I think that's all we really wanted to talk about that.
Yep. That's a good summary.
Yeah, other people can complain about it better than me. Isn't there a rule on the books for angle shooting? See, the problem is proving intent, which is always the hardest part of the law.
That is less I guess that is less my issue at the moment, because even then the judges are going to have a harder time enforcing that than dealing with what they actually did, which was much more face up. Dealing with what the judges actually did is much easier to fix than figuring out if it was angle shooting or not, which it's hard to justify that it wasn't at this point. But and like I'm saying, I think it was scummy. From my understanding of what happened, I think it was scummy. And it's something I don't want to have happen in this game. And it's the reason that we tried to implement these kinds of rules in their rollback policy, is so that you can't take advantage like this.
It's one of those things where I want to think about it at some point in my life, but I never want to have to think about it in a game where I'm like, do I need to fully remember this and be obnoxious about this trigger to make sure it goes off? Like that would feel awful. And I think the final caption that I would put on this whole thing is, I'm going to need a new nickname for when pummel triggers get missed, because you can't call it the British pummel anymore, because that was Tennessee. And as everyone knows, Tennessee is the opposite of Britain.
That's pretty true. They're calling it the Tennessean-C.
Yeah, but you can't. But I need a name for like whenever it's missed.
The CNC was also missed.
Oh, that's the. Oh, that's just. Oh.
Yep.
There's a lot going on. There's other people who've thought about it a lot more than me.
So
I personally hate getting into the weeds of this stuff without having been there or been a person affected by it.
So I want to put an asterisk on what Matthew is saying. Is there is a difference between thinking on the pummel before you have taken damage and after you have taken damage. Because there are very few actions you can take between the pummel going on the stack and resolving and damage being done, partly by the nature of CNC, but also the nature of the deck you're playing. There's very little for you to actually think about between the point of playing the pummel and going to damage.
Yeah, you aren't about to just triple Oasis right there. So
yeah, if you are after damage and you're thinking about the actual discard, then I have no issue with that. It is when the thinking happened that makes it look bad, because it was not after damage. It was before damage. And there is no reasonable action you can think about before damage. There's no reason for you to not advance the game state to damage at that point.
I will say, just because I want to keep pushing that, we weren't there and we're just going on word of mouth, that it's a little tinfoil hat theory, but the reason Kevin's saying that, to explain it super for somebody that might need to, is the reason is we think that the slow play was intentional so as to get to the point that when the game state does move on, everyone's forgotten about the trigger. They're just ready to go on to the next thing, and then you just go on to the next thing. You miss the trigger completely.
Sure.
Which does sound like sharking.
Like I said, Matthew, this is what I got from Runaways podcast today, and this is what Noah and Cody said happened when he was doing the thing. So this is my understanding of the story and their recounting of their being there at the table when it happened, because they were like, one of them was playing literally the table next to him.
So go watch the Runaways podcast, then come back here and watch another one of these, then go watch I was going to shout out another podcast. Go watch Fresh and Pod. I haven't seen theirs. They had a funny title, though. I forgot what it was.
It was Tennessee.
Oh, was it? Okay. That's why I thought it was funny. And then you go back and you watch another video. But I think we're wrapping up here. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I think I'm good.
Yeah. Congratulations again. Has it hit you? Has it all hit in? Do you feel like a champion?
A little bit. As I start to see stuff pop up on the Fab main site, like there's a deck list and my picture and all this stuff.
A Bluesky tweet with your face on it.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. It's great.
No, yeah.
It's gonna get to the point where you're frustrated when I bring it up, just like how I bring up Tim is the Blade Gaming Store champion all the time.
Yeah. Also, yes, Cody did talk to Brody before that podcast episode to get his side of it. As another thing where it's like, I'm not trying to be the voice of like everything you need to know about it. Like actively, they are the ones who know what's going on.
Go listen to them
better. And this is from me, what I heard there at the event, and also listening to them today.
The reason we're talking about it is to briefly acknowledge that we know of it.
Yes.
And our general opinion on what we know of it. It's more of a acknowledgement that it is a situation.
And that also at the end of the day, everyone can do better because the judges messed up, his opponent messed up, and he messed up. Yeah. But we're also going to point to the face of Flesh and Blood, the first person to have their face put on a card. And
No.
I understand you're a kid. We're going to tell you to do frickin' better. Yeah.
He had facial hair in a recent tournament, which caught me off guard. Yeah, I think that's it. Frick, I don't know. God dang, Kevin's a battle hardened champion. That's just freaking awesome.
My first
frick.
top 8 above a PQ.
Expect every stream after this to be titled featuring battle hardened champion.
It's just going to be like any video on Peter Bedensik's channel that just starts with X-time battle hardened champion.
Oh, no. See, now I have to win a battle hardened just so I can beat Tim to it.
Do it. Yeah.
He's not here. I feel so bad. Kevin battle hardened winner Smurf Murphy. No, I what I love so much about the title Smurf, other than like it's so gestalt. It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point, and it really just it's Smurf. He's smurfing on him out there, and I love it. Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. We do this every Thursday. Today's Wednesday, but we normally do this every Thursday. And we have the design table, a chill fab themed art show on Saturday, and then on the 15th, I think, is when we're doing the UPF live show. For literally last month, but also this month. I think it's going to be the one for these months. But yeah, the Battle Hardened Champion Pit. I don't like to think about the Battle Hardened Champions Pit. Anyways, thank y'all so much for watching. Bye.